Yo, welcome to Networking with Nathaniel, a podcast where I get to talk to entrepreneurs, movers and shakers, people that are in that growth mindset that are coming on to share their successes, share their struggles with us. So if you are one of those individuals that are looking to grow, looking to make changes in their business, in their careers, in their lives, you have come to the right place today. My name is Nathaniel Hovsepian. I am the host of Networking with Nathaniel. I am a husband, a father, a coach for busy dads, helping them take control of their health and wellness through nutrition, movement, mindset. I'm also a real estate investor who our guest today is as well. I have helped many dads take control of their health and wellness. I've done a lot of real estate deals, but this show is not about me. I can slow down my talking, as a matter of fact. This show is about those guests that I alluded to at the beginning of this rant. Those people that come on and they share what they're doing in their business, where they're going, and how they're seeing themselves getting there so you can elevate yourselves as well. If this is your first time here, hang out for a little bit. If you like what you hear, if you get some value from it, please subscribe to the channel so you can get continued value going on. You can always go back and check out the other 106 episodes that there are. Please hit the like button so we can reach more people. It helps the algorithm say people are interested in this. My guest today, like I said, is a real estate investor, a husband, a fur father of a dog, a golden doodle, which are absolutely adorable, and a cat. He is a former pastor of 14 years, decided to make the jump into real estate a couple years ago, and has had much success from what I understand. I look forward to diving into it with him. Welcome to the show, Brett Stewart.
What's up? I'm excited to be here in 107. That's a lot of episodes.
It is, it's quite a
Congrats.
few. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like we
this
were we were discussing beforehand, I'm still learning stuff.
yeah, well that's the
Yeah.
greatest thing. I mean, if you can always be a continual learner, I think you're set up for success and
Yeah.
adventure, honestly. So,
Yeah. It makes it fun. I probably wouldn't continue doing it if I wasn't learning stuff, every episode and iterating as far as the podcast goes, but also taking it's all I don't know if I can say without a shadow of a doubt that every episode I learn something that I can take and put into my business or into my
yeah.
relationships with my kids, my wife, my friends,
Yeah.
that's why I started this. And
Yeah.
I
I
hope
love
the
that.
people out there that are listening live and in the future feel the same way. Then that's why they
Yeah.
tune in, every week, is that people come on and like yourself and they share their experience. So
Yeah.
tell me what I kind of did a really quick intro there, but
Yep.
what you got going on, Brett?
Yeah, so man, it's been a wild, fun ride doing real estate. So I'll talk real estate first, and if we want to backtrack and
Okay.
talk ministry and now what ministry through real estate looks like. But yeah, so I am part of a franchise called Joe Homebuyer. In fact, you had Greg Burney on the show not
That's
too
right.
long ago. He has become a really good friend, colleague of mine, just a brother to run life with. And so yeah, I'm based in Abilene, Texas, and so I do real estate transactions in Abilene, the surrounding areas, and really just all of West Texas. Last year, ended up doing, it was around 54 or 55 transactions. This year, I think I'm at like 38 or 39 so far. Still have, the remainder of the fall to go and have really just taken the time over the last couple of years to truly invest into and develop myself, because I think the greatest thing for your business, the greatest thing for your family, the greatest thing for your relationships, the greatest thing for your ability to dream and pursue those goals and those stirrings that are inside of you is to continually work on yourself, your mindset, your beliefs, and being able to not only identify what you believe but why you believe it. And so It's just been a really fun journey. So, like, while I've been growing a real estate business, really the aim is to grow and develop myself so that I can be the fullest expression of who I was called and created to be. Um, so, yeah, this year so far as real estate transactions, have already closed about 1.2 in revenue, 1.2 million. Last year it was like 814,000 for the year. And so this year it's already been quite a big jump. We've got, with booked revenue that's pending close or will be closing. So far, there's another like 150 thousand to be closed, but it'd be really cool if I was able to take that, 814 from last year and double it this year. And so that's been a real fun journey. Obviously, increasing revenue is fun for your business and being able to grow your business. But again, I think at the end of the day, that is just a byproduct of investing into myself. And I was telling some people the other day, if you want to gain more value out of your real estate transactions, you've got to learn how to bring more value to your real estate transactions. And so that's what I've really focused on this year. And I really think that that's what has made a tremendous difference from revenue created last year to this year.
I love this. I'll butcher the quote a little bit probably, but the the income that you make is a direct reflection of the skills that you bring to the marketplace and the
Yeah.
problems that you're able to solve. And I don't know if anybody else caught this, or maybe I misheard, but it sounds like you did, at least till this point, you did more transactions last year,
Last year than this
but
year.
made less.
Hmm.
So how do you, I mean, that's not necessarily solving bigger problems, or is that what you're equating it to?
Um, I definitely made a focus on, okay, what if I was able to increase business by not necessarily having to increase deal flow or having to increase marketing spend or having to increase transactions. And so I did make a purposeful um, goal this last year of how do I create more value per deal and per opportunity I have. But again, that's directly linked to how much more value can I bring to the table
Mm.
with the people that I'm working with. And so yeah, and that revenue is generated from a multitude of exit strategies.
Okay.
I flip houses. I also do some wholesaling. I've got a rental portfolio that's not really counted in that revenue necessarily. Um, uh, Value or equity gained from rentals that I've picked up this year is equated into
Okay.
that revenue number. But I've got rentals, I've got Airbnbs, I've got some lots and lands one day that I want to develop some stuff on, maybe a couple apartment complexes downtown. Um, but yeah, so I've got a number of exit strategies when it comes to real estate transactions. But again, it has been a shift of what if it's not so much about doing more deals, but just making more and bringing more to every transaction that's in front of me?
Right.
Because you never know. Like for me, a marketing channel could be, maybe your PPC, like Google Ads or something, is just cranking. And then one day an algorithm changes and it just stops like entirely. And so, I've been really focusing on not just improving the marketing channels I'm spending money on, and the deals and the transactions and opportunities I'm able to get from those, but even creating those leads and opportunities just from networking and from referrals. And again, anything can change. So that's why, to me, it made more sense of, instead of focusing on number of transactions, what if I'm just able to increase revenue and opportunity with what I have?
Yeah.
Because we're never really in control, I think, of the amount of leads or transactions or opportunities that are possible. One year it might be awesome. The next year it might be cut in half.
Right.
So it's not just about increasing ad spend and increasing deal flow. to increase your revenue when it comes to real estate investing.
Are there are there any things that you can identify that maybe would help somebody that's listening out, say, how to squeeze more juice out of those deals that you do have on your in your pipeline?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of I think it first starts with mindset and belief. Whatever you
Mm,
believe you're capable of getting out of a deal, chances are that's what you're going to get out of a deal.
mm,
But that is also directly linked to what do I believe my value and my time is worth. And I do think I have made a more purposeful effort this year of understanding um, where my time is best invested and where the value is that I can bring. And, last year I probably spent a lot of time on really, really, really small deals just to try to do more deals. And so I have no problem now, telling a seller that I'm in front of, like, hey, I actually don't think I'm your best option. So let me put you in touch with someone who might be, and help bring a solution to that person, but that solution not necessarily be me, so that then I have the time and the focus to where when there are those opportunities where I am the best solution, I'm the best one to create, the scenario that's going to best help the seller in their timeline and what they need and helping them move forward, then I've been able to focus more on that. So I think, just understanding the value of your time, that's been one of the greatest lessons that I've learned. I don't want to jump ahead. I know you told me
yeah.
before recording, like what's one of the biggest life lessons learned, and I still got some other stuff I could answer on that. But truly determining what your time is worth, I think, has been one of the most pivotal things for me. And as I do that, and as I grow a business, understanding where, you know, Brett in his full capacity with his gifts and his strengths and his abilities, where that is best used and spent, and where it's not, well, either bring on people, raise up people, or connect, the people you're trying to serve with someone else who that's their
Mm.
jam.
Uh, this is so important when we're talking about business, is knowing what your strengths are, what your value is that you bring to the table. That way you can say no to things. It's 3 Ds. Delegate. Oh no, maybe it's not. Delegate, eliminate. There's a third one in there, but whatever. I can't remember. But getting it off your plate, right?
Yeah.
As oh, that's gonna bug me. I'll put it in the show notes if I can remember it. It's also very apt in the rest of our lives, right? So many of the people that I run into that are saying, "Oh, I don't have enough time to eat healthy or get
Hmm.
work, exercise or spend more time with my kids." Like, well, let's look at your time and where you're spending it. Okay, are
Yeah.
those is that it's not like the highest and best use or what your time value is, but is that what you're saying is the most important thing? Is that what you're
Right.
actually doing? Eh,
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
times it's like, well, you scrolled for 2 hours today. Is that what you really wanna be doing, or are you just doing it because you're not being intentional with your time? So,
Right. Yeah. What
yeah,
we
you're
what we say is our priority, or what we'd like to be priority, versus what our time is actually going to, is an
yeah,
important thing to assess. Like, we need to do time audits. Like, it's
yeah,
for my personality to sit down and do a time audit feels so draining and boring,
yeah,
but it can also be so revealing of, like, well, do I say the values that I have are actually the practical values that I'm giving time towards?
yeah,
But even at that, just understanding, like, the biggest thing that I learned a while back was equate whatever your hourly wage is, what your hour is worth, and start framing and looking at things based upon that. So, personally, instead of mowing my yard on the weekend, my time off for 2.5 hours when I'm also allergic to, every grass, weed, and tree outside, if I can hire someone to mow my yard
yeah,
for less than the hours and the time of Brett it takes to do it, I'm going to make that choice because that time can be with my wife, it could be for rest, it could be for workout, it could be to generate more money. Like, so, to me, just figuring out what is your time worth and start framing and filtering things by that. What is your health worth? What is your rest worth? And what are you actually sacrificing and prioritizing? And this is fresh on my mind, so I'll share it. Some of our, some of the founders of Joe Homebuyer, we were just on a trip last week in Lake Powell, there in Utah. It's beautiful. It was such a good trip. But something that I've heard them saying a lot lately that I've started to adopt is asking the question, how is that serving you? So like whatever your habits are, whatever choices you're making, like, well, how's that serving you? And taking it a step further, maybe analyzing your choices, your habits, is that serving you or are you serving it? And so when I ask the question, like, is that serving you? Is that leading me into a greater development of who I desire to be? Is that leading me more into the likeness of my Savior? Is that leading me into the fullest expression of who I am and who I've been created to be? Or are those habits and choices, am I serving them? Am I putting down my life or allowing them to lead and direct me to wherever they lead me? So that's a big question that it's stuck with me heavy. And that is starting to be a gauge, not only for myself, but as I walk with people, encourage people, just really asking that question, is this serving you or are you serving it? I think that might reveal some clarity to us on what we're doing and the actions that we need to take. And so you mentioned, uh, diet and eating healthy. I told you before the show, I did keto for like 3 months straight, still
Yeah.
sticking to it pretty well. But you can ask my wife. I just kind of got to a point where I said, you know what, there is absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be in better shape. Like I have every possibility, every capability of doing it, of exercising more, of eating better, because I just got in this place of, multiple years just kind of making excuses or saying, well, I'll get to it. And finally, I had to, taking those same questions that I just said a minute ago, it was like, okay, are my food choices serving me or am I serving them type thing? And so I kind of just drew a line in the sand and made an extreme, like, you know what? I'm done making excuses. I've got every capability of taking control. I'm going to take control because that's going to lead to a better, healthier version of me. And that has impact on my marriage, on my family, on my friendships, on my business,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah, we don't a lot of people don't put that correlation together. That my food choices, maybe it affects my waistline, but that's all that it
Hmm.
affects. And
Yeah.
it doesn't. It affects your emotions. It affects how you're able to focus. It affects your energy levels. Like, that afternoon crash that so many people get.
Hmm.
You don't have to have that.
Right.
Right? That's a product of what you're doing, with the inputs you're putting in, and that's the outputs that you're getting out. And I love that you
Yeah.
say, like, I have all the ability. It's not gonna get easier. It's
Yeah.
never like it's maybe it was easier 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's not gonna get easier from here. There's always gonna be new things that get added to your plate that
Mhm.
are gonna be, excuses for why you can't meal prep, or, you can't eat healthier, you can't go working out. But as we get older, those excuses just start to become
Yeah.
more and more. Like, it's never been easier than now. Or it's not going to be easier than now, I should say. So I love that you're what it, was it the what was it that made you choose keto, I guess, as opposed to just, kind of
Yeah.
cutting
So
out.
last year, for like 8 weeks or so, my wife and I did the carnivore diet,
Okay.
and it was extreme.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of great results from it, and I had clarity from that diet, like just clarity of mind and focus, that I had not had in a long time. But doing just carnivore, like meat only, can get exhausting and expensive. And it was like, man, this isn't practical for a lifestyle. Um, so when I decided to draw that line in the sand and make a change again this year, I was looking up and I was like, hey, I think keto, like that's close to carnivore, but still, I can incorporate, vegetables and stuff like that in it. And so I don't know, I think that's kind of why I chose it. My wife is kind of sticking to a close kind of paleo like diet. And now I'm kind of going back and forth between some like keto meals, paleo meals. Um, but yeah, I chose that just because I had seen success with the carnivore diet. And
Yeah.
really, it wasn't just about like ability to burn fat quickly, but also just that clarity of mind that came from it. Just get out those sugars and carbs and processed carbs and stuff like that, and you'd be amazed at how much better your mind and your body feels.
Yeah. How much you're just get this crazy burst of energy. I've never
Yeah.
gone completely carnivore myself because of, I mean, the mundanity maybe is the best word. Like, it
Hmm.
just gets boring real fast.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me so much. I think we were talking beforehand. Before I met Brittany, I would buy the 3 pounds of salmon or whatever it is from Costco, and
Yeah.
I'd cook it and I'd eat it for 3 days. And most
Yeah.
people hear reheated fish and are like, ugh, but it doesn't. It was just I needed to eat. That's what I was
Yeah.
doing. Like, I need to eat. Why not just put kind of the best? And it was really, when you look at it, like pretty inexpensive. You go spend thirty
Hmm.
dollars or whatever on salmon for 3 or 4 days worth of meals.
Right.
Pretty darn inexpensive. Uh, so it's not the mundanity. It's just like, yeah, that maybe a little bit of the price, but I don't know. There's something about vegetables that
Yeah.
are that I enjoy the vegetables. I enjoy cooking them and eating them, and you do get other benefits from vegetables through your
Definitely.
your gut and all that. So it's so you saw an increase in energy. You saw obviously some physical changes happening as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I
you're
I very quickly, so I've never been like a big person. I've never been overweight. I've always been active. I've always had a pretty good metabolism, but on keto for, almost 3 months straight, strict, man, I dropped 25 pounds and it
yeah,
wasn't, someone was telling me the other day, like, man, Brett, you're just so disciplined and dedicated. And my response was like, I really don't feel that disciplined. I just found something that worked and that I could make a lifestyle. It wasn't hard to make those choices.
yeah,
And then once you get in the routine and the rhythm of it and you experience how good you feel, it was actually pretty easy to keep going. So yeah, I saw, 25 pounds of squish fall off that I had I had imagined there was probably like 10 to 15, but it kind of surprised me that there is some more to go off. But yeah, better sleep, better focus, more energy, no crashes, body felt better. So it's been good.
the sleep is one that people don't realize too, is when you clean the diet up, your sleep improves. Like, what
Hmm.
the heck? Why? I was going to bed for 8 hours, but now I'm actually sleeping for 8 hours. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, yeah, and that bleeds into everything. And we throw around the word discipline all the time, and discipline, it's almost a buzzword in a sense, but with the way you describe it is the way I like to describe it, is that it's a system. You found a
Yeah.
system that worked and you plugged your system and we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the
You
level of our
fall to the
systems,
level of
and
your
you created a
systems.
system through keto that worked for you. And
Yeah.
why aren't you continuing it?
Yeah, so I am, well, one, I dropped to such a low body fat percentage that I was like, "Oops, I didn't mean to go that low." I'd like to be around the 9 to 10%. I had dropped
Okay.
down to I had dropped below 8. So part of
Yeah.
it was like I gotta eat some carbs. Um, but no, so I'm still sticking to a mostly keto diet. But and like I said, probably kind of moving back and forth between and keto. Just put in some healthy carbs, good whole grains, taking some legumes and stuff like that. But then also at the end of the day, you know, like I told you before we started recording, I was at a lunch meeting the other day, and I had not had a Nashville hot chicken sandwich in a long time, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna eat it. Um, so if I can make the majority of my meals still keto like that's what I'm focusing on. But at the end of the day, like one of, my wife and I, we love a few things. We love food and we love travel. And so it's important to still enjoy and have experiences with food. But, when you can create a good system, now when you decide to have like that one meal you haven't had in a long time, it's more of a, I don't know. I don't want to say reward. That sounds cliche and cheesy,
Yeah.
but sometimes it just kind of feels nice, and it does reward you a little bit, and it keeps you going, you know?
Yeah. And like it sounds similar to what you've done in your business is like if I can do it, well, it's a little different the way, but like if I can be 80% or 90% there all the time, and then I can enjoy the 10% and not feel guilty
Mhm.
and not feel crummy. And then because I've built this solid system of 90%, when I do have that 10%, I just fall back into the system.
Mhm.
Whereas, when we don't have that solid foundation, we go have that 10%, and then the 10% becomes 15, it becomes a week and
Right.
then a month, and you're like, well, I might as well just keep going like this now. And
Right.
this is a part, and you're in it, that not that you, like you were saying, not that you were overweight or obese or anything like that, but people see the I need to lose the weight, but don't see what's on the other side of that, which is, hey, now we get to start adding back in. Like, let's build the foundation, and then we get to
Mhm.
start adding back in. We get to go to the gym and start like lifting for muscle building and like,
Right.
all those things are the super fun part. I mean, it's all fun but when you're in the process of it, you're like, oh, I'm dropping weight, I'm getting my energy back. But then you just see the skinny person on the other side. No, that's not what we're going for. We're going for
Right.
the
Strong,
full.
capable,
Yeah,
energetic.
especially from
Yeah.
a dad's perspective. Like my kids are. I have two huge boys that he's going to be 5 soon, but he's already almost 60 pounds and like the size of a 6 or 7 year old. I want to
Yeah.
still be able to throw him. Like he's still that kid. He wants to be able to throw.
Yeah.
So that's like that's why I exercise, and that's why I actually incorporate tossing him into some of my exercise, because I want to be able to keep
Yeah.
tossing it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
you you mentioned it. You mentioned the Joe Homebuyer and Greg Burney.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned here that you did a retreat. I forget what city you said it in, but in
Yeah, it
Utah.
was it was in Utah on Lake Powell. If you've
Lake
never
Powell.
seen
Okay.
pictures of it, you should Google it. It's where the
Okay.
Colorado River dumps into. It's technically part of the Grand Canyon, just super east of the Grand Canyon. But the Colorado River dumps into the canyon, and it creates this beautiful
Okay.
canyon lake. Yeah.
Okay. Is It sounds like you, with the Joe Homebuyer, and I got into it a little bit with Greg, but you got a model of franchise where they're
Hmm.
helping you with your systems and processes, but you're also in a network now, like a community.
Yeah.
How has
Yeah.
that affected
Oh,
what you've been able to do?
it's been everything, honestly.
Mm,
I've had a couple of people ask like, "Hey, why would you want to be part of a franchise and have to pay royalties and have to pay, fees and this and that? Like, doesn't that cut into, your profit?" But I look at it as like, I don't know that I would be who I am and where I am without that network, and that, like, it's kind of like a mastermind in and of itself of
mm,
people that are continually looking to not only grow their business but grow themselves. And so when you're around that and that's your community, that's the people that are, side by side, shoulder to shoulder with you. But then you even have those that are farther ahead of you, and then you have those that are behind you that you get to invest into. Um, to me, it is well worth any cost, monetarily that it takes, because I don't know that my business or myself would be where it is today without that community and without those people. So I think it's been game changer. The people you surround yourself with really do influence not just your success, but your mindset, your drive, your understanding, your belief. Um, Believe it or not, this is going to be an interesting statement that I'm going to make. Um, my wife and I were processing the other day that, when you're kind of in the pits of life and making choices and changes, people are there to cheer you on and to commemorate you for your effort and what you're going through. But then when you start living and making choices and developing mindset that is different than the status quo and of the majority of the people around you, it feels very isolating. And now, like, people aren't encouraging you or, commemorating you. If anything, they're either annoyed by you, or maybe they just think that you're pursuing things, selfishly, or whatever. And so, being around the Joe Homebuyer community and family, I tell you what, if there's anybody that would be like jealous or feel like they should be competitive with me, it's the other guys in Joe Homebuyer that are around me, but they don't. Instead, they celebrate each other so incredibly well. They encourage each other, they love each other. And so, it's been a very big blessing for us, not just for me, who, I'm in the business and am running it and am growing it, but even for my wife, and she was on that trip with me, just to be around people that aren't afraid to celebrate your wins and to tell you to, like, keep going and go farther. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but it is very interesting when you start to make such key life and mindset changes, how it starts to not necessarily, like, be popular amongst the majority.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and then they, maybe they have thoughts or assumptions about you. Maybe they just think you're being extreme. I don't know. But I've found such a joy in just the continued development of myself and my marriage and my business, that I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to surround myself with the others that are doing the same.
I have an interesting question.
Yeah.
But it almost sounds like you're plugging my community.
Haha, sweet.
But-
Yeah.
so much of what you said there regarding the business side of things is what I'm building in the brotherhood, is
Yeah.
that, uplifting, supporting, holding each other accountable, coming together as different minds that are a chapter ahead, in the same chapter, a chapter behind, and sharing all those experiences and things like that. I love that. And then the my pastor on Sunday, I forget exactly how he, hold on, I got it right here.
Yeah.
God will not do for you what you can't rejoice over for him doing for someone else.
Mm.
He was talking about the Cain and Abel.
You should say
And
that again. That's good.
yeah, God will not do for you what you can't rejoice over for him doing for someone else.
Mm.
He's not going to bless your finances. If you see somebody be blessed in their finances and you go, "Man, I do better than them."
Hmm.
Right? He's not going to give you a kid. If you see somebody else get a kid and you say, "Well, I'm healthier than they are," or
Hmm.
they wouldn't be as good of a parent as me. No, you got to be able to celebrate them. And
Yeah.
so much of that, what you explained as Joe Homebuyer, is that, like, dude, you hit 1 million? Let's freaking go.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And
It
to
got me a
to
little.
yeah, and to rub shoulders with those that are doing the same thing, and, like,
Yeah.
a little bit of healthy competition comes out of, like, well, man, I can't slow down or slack, because I've
Yeah.
got these guys that not only I admire, but I love and encourage, and I want to see them do well, and I know that they're
Yeah.
gonna, like, hold me to that. And so, yeah, it's, man, when you can celebrate and encourage, and, I don't know, I love that quote, that you said, because to me, it comes back to, are you led from a place of fear or lack, or are you led from a place of fullness?
Yeah.
From a place of fullness from within, You can love, celebrate, serve anyone without any expectation of anything in return
Yeah.
and not feel depleted or somehow less than because of it. But if you're led by fear or lack, you're always in comparison mode, or you're always afraid that you won't have something, or you won't be celebrated if you don't celebrate, someone else. Or it I made a decision a couple years ago, as best as I can, to not make decisions out of lack or
Mhm.
fear, and to not be
Yeah.
led by it. And so
Yeah.
I think that kind of goes hand in hand with that quote that you were saying.
Yeah. I love just the abundant mindset is that's so powerful. The odd question is, and I don't you're not going to do this, but what happens if I don't want to be Joe Homebuyer anymore? What, like, you still keep all the knowledge you've gained, but are there
Yeah.
like, do you lose, what do you lose the community?
Yeah, you lose the community. I guess you lose they've got strategic partners that you have access to for
Mm,
systems marketing and stuff like that. So you would lose those. And as Joe Homebuyer continues to invest into its franchisees, and as the franchisees themselves invest into it, they're growing the name and the brand and the reputation of Joe Homebuyer. And so I guess that's, there's plenty that you would lose. I mean, I've told people, like, anybody can be successful in real estate, doing it by themselves or doing it as part of a community or a group or a franchise. And so, to me, it's really just what I've found with those other franchisees. And I don't know, there's been a big, especially over the last year, there's been a purposeful effort that I've seen from the top down, leadership, corporate, down to all of us, of investing into the people, to not only make sure that we grow into top producers, but that we grow into top leaders, like
mm,
quality leaders.
yeah.
So then that's part of their mission. So
Well, this kind of segues a little bit into what your past was before you.
yeah,
I hesitate to use past because it's not like you
yeah.
just went,
My
but
past career.
yeah,
How about that? My
yeah. There you
past
go. Okay.
career.
Uh, it seems like that past career being a pastor kind of puts you in a good place to be a leader. There's so much in the Bible, God's word, that equates to being a good leader. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
the current Bible I'm reading is John Maxwell's leadership Bible. So it
Leadership
has,
Bible. Yeah.
yeah, I love it. It's great to have. There are so many things that I would never put together. I shouldn't
Mhm.
say never, that currently I wouldn't put together. Um,
Yeah.
just from like equating one thing to another, like, oh, this is calling back to that book. Oh, it's so interesting. But how is that playing into what you're doing currently, being a former pastor?
Yeah. So I always joke with people because, they're when they hear at least about the real estate stuff and they don't know of my background, they'll ask me, like, well, what's your strategy? How are you doing this? What's your background? And I'm like, listen, I don't have a background in business. I don't have a background in marketing. I don't have a background in sales. I have a background, I was a pastor, and my background is searching, discovering, and leaning on truth, being able to be present with people to hear them, but to also help lead them into a place of hope, truth,
Mhm.
healing, and development, like enhancement. And so, um, I feel like every bit of my past career, with ministry, it plays into the everyday of what I do. So,
Yeah.
one of the things that I believe differentiates me from some other guy that shows up to look at a house is, when I show up to look at a house to see if it's something that I want to buy or somehow do a real estate transaction on, I don't show up as Brett, the real estate investor. Like, I show up as Brett. And the
Hmm.
work that God has done in me is the work that he does through me. And so, over the years of truly getting to a place where, for me, I've got a few truth words that I speak over myself, that I'm seen, significant, and loved. And those are very core to things of my past that I wrestled with, and that I even had maybe some false beliefs about that shaped me. But as I found healing and I got into a place of what it looks like for Brett to be full is to know that I am seen, significant, and loved. So when I show up to a house to talk eventually about maybe purchasing it, when I show up as Brett, and I guarantee you that the person that I'm with is going to be seen, significant, and loved because I'm seen, significant, and loved. And so
Yeah.
that creates this connection of, like, I'm not here, like, the first, I'd say the first half of me being at a property has nothing to do with talking about the property or looking at the property. Like, I want to sit down with the person. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear what troubles them, what things they celebrate, what gets them excited, where they want to be. And what a joy I get to be of, I get to have of not only being a conveyor of hope and truth and love, but then I get to bring that, creativity to, like, okay, how can I create a solution that creates a win for you? It creates a win for me. It creates a win for everyone involved. And so you get to use that creativity of entrepreneurship, once you finally get into the, talking about the house and the solutions that you can provide. But all that to say, I think one of the biggest things for me is when I show up fully who I am. And that took a lot of time, and it took a lot of years, and it took a lot of work, and it still takes a lot of work. But that creates a connection with the person in front of you, that your impact is going to be known and felt, and they want to work with you. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, they want to work with you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think that's, if you can ask if I have a competitive advantage, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna show up as myself, and I'm gonna connect with the person, love them. And again, because I'm seen, significant, and loved, that person in front of me is gonna be seen, significant, and loved in the process.
Yeah. Uh, this combined with something you said earlier, where I'm going to tell you if I don't think I'm the best fit for you.
Mhm.
This is just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like sale, like the ultimate sales. I'm meeting you where you are. I want to find out everything that's going on about you. And if I'm not the best fit, knowing everything I can know about you, if I know I'm the best fit, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, and
That just like,
I'm not gonna be offended
yeah.
that I'm not your best option. In fact, when and this goes for any kind of business, or any kind of interaction, but if you can show up without any expectation to receive something from the other person,
Mm,
one, not only are you going to give a lot of value, you're probably going to be surprised at the value that's returned to you and what
yeah.
opportunities are created. And so being able to confidently show up to a place and not need something from the other person, that creates an authenticity and an interaction that is impactful beyond just the need at hand, but it's an eternity impact. It's a
Mm,
spiritual impact. And so again, that's been a big lesson of coming to a place where I realize that no matter what I do or accomplish or what I don't, I am full regardless. And
mm,
so I'm going to choose to live out of a place of fullness rather than live from a position where I'm trying to be filled by what I do or what I have.
yeah. Mm, oh man, I lost. Oh no, yeah, okay. I don't think we've touched this yet because we just went back in time. What happens 14 years into this that makes you go, I'm going to be a real estate investor now?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question because I never dreamed up my life to look like what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Um, Let me first say I absolutely loved my time being a pastor and working for the church.
Mm,
And I don't regret any bit of it. And I'm so glad and blessed that I did it. Um, I guess I have to backtrack a little bit farther. So part of my story is I had a first marriage that lasted for 6.5 years, and it ended in divorce. And I was a pastor at a large church, and there was some stuff posts on social media that, like, it became a very public
Yeah.
thing. Um, and so one, I have to commend the church that I was at and their leadership and their eldership. I was already walking with them closely because I was seeking their guidance and their wisdom on how to strengthen and restore the marriage that I was in. But they did such a wonderful job of just shepherding me through that season and that process. And the unfortunately the marriage wasn't restored with every effort and belief that I had and desired. It wasn't, and I'll just leave it at that for now. But in that process of healing, because everything just changed. The way I dreamed, the way I prayed, the way I imagined my future, with the end of a marriage, it changed all of that. And you can feel that temptation, or that, like, the temptation of thought of, man, was all of that wasted? Like, do I have to start over? And, like, that's that fear, that's that lack kicking in. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
nothing's wasted. And in
Yeah.
that place, I just clearly heard the Lord challenging me, Brett, would you be willing to erase every, like, boundary and border that you've put around what I want to do in you and through you? And would you be willing to invite my creativity into your life and into your future? And I was just like, yes, like, I
Yeah.
don't know what that means, but sure, okay.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just started there. And then I literally felt the Lord tell me to get into real estate, to study it and to get into it, and that He was going to weave the worlds of ministry and real estate together in a way that I couldn't imagine, that I couldn't, dream myself.
Mm.
And so obviously, when you hear something like that, you start to dream and try to create the pieces of how it's going to look. Um, and so, for a while, I thought, like, oh, okay, I'll just do real estate on the side. And that could then provide my income. So for me to be able to do ministry without pay, us to do
Mhm.
more missions and trips and being involved. And maybe that looks like us planning a church. And again, it's the real estate investments that provide not only for our means of living, but an ability to pour out into the people that we're serving and seeking to reach. Um, and so well, it's funny. So that was back in 2017. Fast forward to 2020. I'm remarried to my wife, Andie, now. She's the best. And I knew from 2017 to 2020, like, I'm going to do real estate, but I hadn't yet. And so I was listening to every podcast and reading this, watching this, whatever, talking about real estate nonstop. Um, it's funny, my wife, if you met her and understood her personality, she told me one day, very straightforward, but in a loving way, Brett, if you're not going to do this real estate thing, you should probably stop talking about it. And I was like, oh, like,
Yeah.
one, ouch,
Oh.
but two, I was trying to convince her of, like, hey, we should do this. She had never said, like, yes, I'm for it, but she never said, no, I'm against it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was always for it. And she was like, well, go do it. I'm waiting on you to go do it. And
Right.
so that's where I jumped in. I was like, I'm going to do this. And so, started out with some rentals, and then, do some flips. And I was thinking, okay, maybe what we make off of flips can pay off student loans. And, I was trying to just think creatively of all the ways that real estate could fit into church ministry.
Mm.
And as I got into it, man, I fell in love with real estate. I just absolutely love it. But two, I accidentally created a full-time job of real estate while also having a full-time job of ministry. And
Yeah.
and there was some other stuff too of, for me, for Brett personally, I got to a place where I recognized I'm a really great professional pastor, And I don't like that. I don't
Mm,
like that I can be successful as a professional pastor based on my own like charisma and energy and know-how. But then even just, as I continue to work more and more on myself and have more encounters with the Lord over all that I've been through, just kind of desiring to see Jesus at work in a different way. And I still very much believe in the church. Um, and I believe in ministers and pastors and leaders and all of that. But for me, it came to this because I was willing to invite the creativity of the Lord into my life and to erase the boundaries of what I had assumed life should look like. I started to discover there's way more gifts and talents and abilities that I have that I'm not getting to utilize within the walls of the church, professionally as my job.
yeah.
But, or maybe I'm getting to, but like it's only a small percentage compared to the rest of where my time and my focus is going. And so for me, it kind of just became a stirring of I want to utilize to the fullest, ability everything that God has put in me. I want to be able to have the creativity to put that into work. And I had fell in love with real estate and I saw the opportunity in it. And so I kind of just came to this place and this point where I kind of had to decide, well, am I going to do, full-time real estate? Am I going to do full-time church work? And part of it too was like, I don't know, like I can go for it. I can go to real estate, and if it fails miserably, that's
Mm,
okay. I have gift sets. I have a passion for teaching, for preaching, for leading people. I can
yeah.
always go back into church leadership. But as soon as I made that transition, and decided, what, I'm gonna do real estate full time, but then also correct that thinking. Some people are like, Brett, don't you miss ministry? And I tell them I do more of it every day today than I ever have.
Yeah.
And as soon as I learned that in the transition, I haven't looked back, and I've loved every bit of it. And so I infuse, ministry, mission, the truth of God's word and the healing, the promises, the redemption that He has for us. I bring that into every aspect of what I do. And how great for me, not only do I get to go into distressed homes, but I say distressed homes also have distressed lives attached and associated to them. And I get to
Yeah.
sit in that place and I get to be with people and I get to hear them and love them and point them towards hope. Like think
Mm,
about it. How many people do you invite into your home in a year?
yeah.
Then think, how many people do you invite into your home when your home is a wreck and it's a
Yeah.
mess?
Yeah.
And then how many people do you actually invite into your home when it feels like your life is in a wreck and it's in a mess?
Yeah.
I doing what I do now, I get the chance to go into people's homes and sit with them in the midst of all of that. Like what an opportunity and a privilege to get to be that person that's
Mm,
granted with that encounter, because that's not an encounter that everybody gets.
yeah.
And so I think it's tremendously unique.
Because I don't have a better word, it's crazy. It's crazy and unfathomable. The, the plan, like, hey, go do real estate. All these doubts and things come into your mind. And now you're doing more for his mission because of the position that he's put you on. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. You said the wasted time or wasted experience.
Hmm.
I had that coming home from the gym the other day. It's like when I got out of high school and got in the Marine, I left my walk, and man, I was like, what? Imagine what all that we could have done together over the past 20 years if I had been with you.
Hmm.
And I used with you, not the other way around, very specifically. uh, and I just got this guilt. And then almost immediately, I was like, no, 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 you were on your path. And if you hadn't done that, and you hadn't done this, and you
Mhm.
hadn't done that, then you wouldn't have met Brittany, and you wouldn't have got married. You wouldn't have 3 kids. You wouldn't be building fit fatherhood and helping dads out, with all the. Okay, okay, so maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't be guilty about this, but we only have a few minutes left, so I don't
Yeah.
want to tell my story too much more because you
No,
can
but
go.
it's true.
Yeah,
Nothing is wasted.
yeah,
Everything is an investment, and even the things that we look back on with regret, if you trust in the healing and redemptive power of the gospel,
yeah,
like it's not going to be wasted. It's going to be redeemed, and it is going to invest and enhance you, and it's going to lead you to who you are today. So
mm,
every single thing that I had to walk through in the past, I would say, man, I really don't want anybody to have to walk through that. But I would choose it all over again because it leads to who I am and where I am today, my love and my relationship with God, my love and my relationship with my wife, and my business. And so, yeah, it's nothing is wasted. And so, it's
yeah,
again, that's a mindset change, and that's also a mindset change that you bring into every interaction. When you have a meeting that you're supposed to go to, but you have like this gut feeling and this encounter with a person in public, maybe at the coffee shop or whatever, and you feel like rushed, like, well, I'm going to miss out on this opportunity if I stick around and talk with this person. No,
mm,
nothing is wasted. What
yeah,
if the investment into that person and in that moment not only is an investment in their life, but what if it brings fruit in and return in your business somewhere else? So just
mm,
having that mindset and that belief, nothing's wasted, everything's an investment.
yeah.
Um, so
Okay, we have a couple questions that I've asked every guest. Before we do this, what's the best way for people to reach out to you to learn more about what you got going on
yeah,
through
yeah.
real estate, through your ministries?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm looking at your name on the screen and I kind of regret not putting my
Uh,
Instagram handle. I wonder if I can change that
you could change
while
it.
I'm doing
I could.
this.
It'll be linked in the in the description too.
Check this
But just
out.
so
We're
you
gonna do
could
it right
say it.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's at Brett Stewart TX.
TX.
Um, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and there's, from there you can connect with me all different ways.
Yeah.
But I try to do and post not only real estate stuff on there, but just what I'm working on, what I'm focusing on, self, development, and even just kind of the inspirational challenges that are brought to me or that the Lord brings to me. I love to share those with other people as well.
Yeah, I love it. Definitely an account worth following on the Instagram side. I haven't looked at the Facebook too much, but it's probably very similar. Yeah. uh, you already mentioned a big life lesson, so I'm
Hmm.
gonna skip that one for time constraints. If you
Sure.
could have dinner with anybody
Mm.
throughout history, living or dead, who would it be, and what would you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, that's like the one question that I was like, I don't know that I have a good answer for it. Maybe it'll come to me in the moment.
Yeah, darn.
um, I don't know. There's so many people that you could just
Yeah.
choose. This is going to sound weird. This is maybe the first thing. Well, the second thing. The first one that popped into my head is obviously Jesus. I know that it might be cliche and corny for people, but like it's a when you love Jesus and you want to be in his presence,
Mm,
you want to be in his
yeah.
presence. This is going to be a weird take on it. I would have dinner with my younger self,
Oh.
and I would sit there to love him and be with him and be present with him and to maybe speak to him now the way that I speak to myself now. And I think it would be an interesting interaction. So,
Yeah. Why not your older self?
because that's, oh, wait, that's great. No,
Yeah.
uh,
Just
I
change my
love,
answer.
I know. No, no, no. I'm not gonna change my answer. I still like
Yeah.
my answer, but
Yeah.
I like, believe it or not, I like the unknown of the future because
Yeah, I could
any
see
and
that.
everything is possible and it's
Yeah.
creative. And I love and am just, I love the joy and adventure of creativity. And so, I'm excited to become that person.
Mm,
Um,
I love
so
that. Okay, really quickly, because I know you
yeah.
have another meeting coming up. when your time on this earth is done and you're in heaven, what do you want to be remembered for by the people that you left behind here?
Yeah. Someone who was truly themselves all the time,
Mm,
that had such a joy and satisfaction of knowledge, presence, and relationship with Jesus that it just overflowed into all that I did. I want to inspire, I want to challenge, and I want to help people create new ways of thinking and believing that leads to a transformed, fully redeemed life.
mm. A lot to sit with after this episode. I appreciate your time, Brett. If you could just leave your browser open so it finishes uploading here on the recording side so I can get you the high
Ah,
quality recordings.
for
Thank you for
sure.
being here.
Dude,
This
it's
was
been
a
awesome.
great conversation. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this again because
Yeah,
believe it or not, it's so easy to talk for an hour and there's
yeah,
so
it
much to
really
talk
like
about. So
yeah.
I'd
Well, there
I'd
was
love
more.
to.
There's more on the like the ministry side of things that I think we could for sure dive into. And then we didn't
Absolutely.
even talk about what real estate looks like for you next year and going forward. So it just kind of, yeah, it comes up on an hour quick, but yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. Later, Brett. Brett Stewart. That was a very packed episode of growth for sure. If you're paying attention, there is a common theme that we're hearing from people that come on networking with Nathaniel. It is knowing your value, having an abundant mindset, and meeting people, pouring into people. Be it sellers that you're talking to, team members that you have on your team, your spouse, your kids. We are people, and your business is going to grow the more you pour into your people. Your life is going to grow the more you pour into your people. So that's a big takeaway for me is like, man, that's something from a pastor that he was able to take and translate into being a successful entrepreneur. Is that, what did he say? He's seen, he's significant, and he's loved. He made us that made it into my journal, not just the notepad. I appreciate y'all for being here live and in the future. If you made it this far and you haven't already done so, please like the video so we can reach more people. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. We have lots of amazing guests coming on, upcoming, and it sounds like we're going to have Mr. Brett Stewart back. Until next week, Wednesdays, noon Eastern time, I'll see you.